and Tribal Homeless Housing Assistance and Prevention, Round 4, Notice of Funding Availability and Application Workshop. That was a mouthful. So you'll hear us also refer to the program as Tribal HAP. So I'm thrilled to have you all join us. My name is Amy Lopez. I'm Chactan Chicana, and I am the Tribal HAP Manager here at HCD. Give you a little, so this NOFA is being presented in a webinar format, and it is also being recorded. So a few Zoom housekeeping tips. We have two ways in which you can share your comments or questions. Number one is you can speak. To speak, you can please use the raise your hand feature that's located at the bottom of your screen, and one of our team members will unmute you, and then you have to select that yes, you want to be unmuted. And if you prefer to type in your comments or questions instead, you can use the Q&A button shown at the bottom of your screen. Please ask any questions or share any comments throughout the presentation. Our team member will be monitoring these features during the presentation. So thank you all for introducing yourselves in the chat. We'll start off with some brief introductions of HCD's Tribal Affairs team. And we'll start off with Doug.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for coming to our webinar. My name is Doug Strong. I'm currently the CAP, or the California Indian Assistance Program / Tribal Affair Manager here at HCD. I've been here approximately, 7 years, doing a lot of things. And you'll be hearing from my team today, my wonderful team today on this presentation. So I'll pass that on to Mary.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. My name is Mary Linda Blood-Fry. I am a policy specialist on the team, also a member of the Colville Confederated Tribes in Washington. And thank you all for joining, and I'll pass it to Zach.
Thanks, Mary, and good morning, everyone. I appreciate you all being here with us. My name is Zach Ferguson, also a senior policy specialist on our team. Leanne?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. I'm Leanne Hatton. I'm Senior Policy Specialist. Thank you for being here this morning. Veronica.
Good morning, everyone. This is Veronica Katayama. I also work as a Senior Policy Specialist on the Tribal team, and I'll pass it over to Amy.
Morning. As I mentioned, I am Amy Lopez, the Tribal Affairs Manager, Tribal HAP Manager here at HCD.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Jennifer, and I am a Tribal HAP Policy Analyst.
Hi, good morning. My name is Alexia Rappaport. I am also a Tribal HAP Policy Analyst.
And good morning, everybody. My name is Valeria, and I'm also a Tribal HAP Policy Analyst.
And so in addition, the Tribal HAP team provides technical assistance. So in addition, we partner with culturally competent technical assistance providers, and they are the California Coalition for Rural Housing, CCRH is what we also refer to them as, and with additional partners from Northern Circle Indian Housing Authority, our Paula Housing Resource Center, and Mosaic Urban Development. Technical assistance is provided to assist California tribes along every step of the way from pre-application to post-award. So let's get started. This workshop will review the elements of Tribal HAP Round 4 NOFA and application. We'll clarify the role of HCD and technical support and answer any questions our tribal partners may have. For our presentation today, we will discuss the following. We'll go over timeline and key updates in round 4. We'll go over some Tribal HAP success stories, share those. We'll have our program policy and purpose, eligible uses, allocation overview, application and budgets, awards and disbursements, and then reporting. To give you a sense of where we are in this NOFA process, here is our timeline. And the timeline can be found on page 3 of the NOFA, We shared the links to the NOFA and the application template earlier. We can share them again. And this is also found, the timeline is found on our website. So we'll go in a circle going clockwise starting at the top left. On September 30th, 2025, the NOFA was released in the amount of $28.5 million in funding. Applications are due next year on January 16, 2026. And during the month of February, we will review applications and issue conditional awards in March of 2026. Then from March to May, there will be budget revisions, standard agreements, and disbursements will all take place during that time frame. And the fund expenditure deadline is June 30, 2029. So key updates for round 4. HCD has incorporated feedback from tribal governments, stakeholders, and received during the 30-day public comment period of the draft NOFA that began on June 10th and ended on July 10th of this year. So the key enhancements in this year's round 4 include increasing in funding availability. It went up, it's 28.5 million is available in round 4 as compared to 20 million in previous 3 rounds. The 10% homeless youth set aside has been removed in this round. The feedback we received is that not all tribes are able to meet the youth requirement. And so you may continue to fund youth programs and projects, but it's no longer a requirement. And then funding history has been reduced from 10 years to 3 years. So in this round, we are asking that you state funding sources for the past 3 years to address your homeless and housing needs. And the allocation methodology, based on feedback, HCD is attempting to provide more insight into this process to be more transparent. And reporting and audits. In this round, there is a shift to annual reporting. And audit language additionally has also been updated in the standard agreement boilerplate. Tribal sovereign immunity is preserved. So application accessibility. So in this round, we are providing downloadable format templates available on our website, and we will also be going over those templates today. Now I'm going to kick it off to Leanne Hatton, who will go over some of the Tribal HAP success stories.
Good morning. Thank you for being with us today. I will be talking about success stories under Tribal HAP funding. And as we look at housing and homelessness in Indian country and the communities that surround our rancherias and reservations, we know that the best cure to homelessness is housing. There are many pathways to provide housing stability in tribal communities, and under the Tribal HAP program, tribal communities can determine their own processes, programs, and pathways. With the past 3 rounds of Tribal HAP, there has been 42 California federally recognized tribes who have received funding. $60 million has been allocated to tribal nations with governments in 16 counties in California. $9 million of that funding was spent on addressing youth homelessness in tribal country. During this presentation, if I mention a person or a tribe by name, please know that I have permission to do so. So this is Chris, and I have permission to share Chris's story. Chris was homeless for over 20 years. It started when he was a child. He came through the foster care system, ICWA, the Indian Child Welfare Act, the act that responds to Indian children being removed from their families, should have been implemented, but it was not in Chris's situation. Chris ran away from foster care. He was picked up and placed in a juvenile justice facility. This progressed into adulthood, where he was picked up for petty crimes while living on the street and in homeless camps. One day, Chris had enough, and he reached out and decided to participate in a transitional housing program called Resiliency Village that was partnering with Chicken Ranch Rancheria under Tribal HAP funding. This was the beginning of Chris's journey out of homelessness. He utilized Tribal HAP funding in the best ways possible, from transitional housing to rapid rehousing to homeless prevention. He is now a mentor and helps others in the community. Chris continues to move forward with safe and stable housing. He lives in a community where he has he lives in a neighborhood where he has created community. This is just one example of what Tribal HAP can do to help a person and what one program can do to help a community. Next slide, please. So as you move forward and think about the many ways that Tribal HAP can support your community, I'm going to share some examples of ways that funds have been used in prior rounds to support tribal projects and programs. Circle Group, focused on healing projects and life skills, has been used to look at different ways to bring people together to focus on healing and life skills, where you bring communities together to look at budgeting or cooking or other ways to support family individuals. Non-traditional housing program focused on hard to serve populations, reentry, TAY, single men. Traditionally, TANF can't serve some of those populations, so Tribal HAP can. Strategic funding with berated state and federal grant sources. Tribal HAP can fill in those blank spots when state and federal, other grant state and federal sources cannot. Infrastructure, renovation, accessibility improvements, building purchases, land acquisition and permitting can all be utilized with THAP funds. Birth certificates, driver's licenses, GED support, job applications, on-site service hours, and community engagement have all been utilized and found successful ways to be purchased with Tribal HAP funding. Tribal HAP funding can also be used to do staff training, fiscal and case management systems, and IT support, where in a lot of other places, grant funds are not available. THAP can be utilized. So I'm going to turn this over to Alexia, and she will move us forward with program policy and purpose. Thank you.
Thanks, Leanne. So a little bit of context on the program. The Tribal HAP program was created by Assembly Bill 140, which was also known as the 2021 Budget Act, to reflect the state's commitment to strengthening support for tribal communities. Tribal HAP remains responsive to tribal priorities and governance structures, and it's now entering its 4th round. Tribal HAP is a dedicated tribal set-aside within the broader Homeless Housing Assistance and Prevention Program, developed specifically for and in partnership with California federally recognized tribes. And through direct consultation and feedback, HCD aims to continue improving access, alignment, and culturally responsive implementation of these funds. Please note that per statute, all California federally recognized tribes who apply will receive funding. Next slide, please. And now we're going to talk about eligible uses in greater specificity. So basically taking a deeper look at how we can get your project ideas translated onto your application. So again, tribes are encouraged to apply a culturally appropriate lens to each category, ensuring that programs and services are customized to meet the needs of their community members. Next slide, please. So Tribal HAP Round 4 eligible uses. You can find this on page 6 of your NOFA, which includes a list of all the eligible uses. But before we dive in, we want to let you know that all eligible uses from previous funding rounds are carried over into this round. So if you're a previous grantee, you might notice that the categories look a little different, but please rest assured that if there's an activity that you carried out in the past, you can still do that in this funding cycle. In this funding cycle, round 4 eligible use categories have been changed slightly. Round 4 has 4 broad eligible use categories. First, we have the permanent housing solutions category, which encompasses any activities related to the provision of permanent housing in your communities. So this includes construction costs, purchasing land or purchasing properties, rehabilitation of existing structures, and even soft costs like pre-development work or engineering, and even case management that's associated with the permanent housing that you're providing. Next, we have homeless prevention. This category encompasses activities related to the prevention of homelessness in your communities. So this might be activities like rental assistance programs, rapid rehousing, diversion support programs, but we want to reiterate that this is not an exhaustive list, and we encourage applicants to be creative and shape these activities to suit the needs of their communities. We've even seen some tribes use the funds under the prevention category to renovate youth centers and create community programs. Third, we have the interim housing solutions category, and this category includes activities related to the creation and provision of interim housing. So this might include navigation centers, operating expenses for existing congregate shelters, or motel hotel vouchers. And lastly, in round 4, we've added a new category called non-housing solutions. And you can think of this category as the services category from previous rounds. So rounds 1, 2, and 3 had the services category. Now we're calling it the non-housing solutions category. It's more broad and includes activities like street outreach, housing navigation, harm reduction services, systems coordination, among others. Next slide, please. Oh, thank you. And lastly, we're going to talk about admin costs. Page 9 in the NOFA outlines admin costs for the program. They are capped at 7% of your overall award according to statute. They can be used for indirect costs like office supplies, utilities, software, HR, or legal fees, etc. We would just like to remind grantees that admin costs cannot be used for staffing costs, but staffing costs can be listed in the previous categories we discussed on the other slide. So for example, if you were wanting to use tribal HAP funds to cover the costs of a case manager for an interim shelter, you would just list them under the interim shelter category, just not on the admin costs section. And lastly, like Amy mentioned, we just want to reiterate that previous rounds required a 10% youth set aside, but based on feedback we've received, we're not having that set aside. Tribal HAP funds can still be used for youth activities, but there's no longer a prescribed minimum. And now I will turn it back to Amy.
Thank you, Alexia. So on pages 11 and 12 of the NOFA is the allocation methodology. And our methodology has never been publicized before. However, as I stated earlier, HCD is attempting to provide more insight into this process to be more transparent. Based on feedback received, the allocation methodology is as follows. So if the total requested funding does not exceed the amount under this NOFA, which is 28.5 million, then all eligible applicants will receive their full requested amount, subject to the application approval. I'd like to note that as this program enters its 4th round of funding, we've seen increases in total funds requested and total number of applicants in each subsequent round. So which brings me to the second scenario. If funding requests exceed 28.5 million available under this NOFA, the department will use the following methodology to distribute funds. And one is a base award. So 75% of the total funds available will be divided equally among all eligible applicants. And then on the second is a proportional award based on need. Following the distribution of the base award, the remaining 25% will be allocated based on community need, which we must do to comply with state law, and which consists of eligible community size, estimated number of people to be served, along with any other federal, state, or other funding sources received within the last 3 years to address your housing and homelessness needs. And then third is we've put a maximum award cap. So finally, and again, based on feedback and in an effort to bring balance to the range of award amounts, we have applied a maximum award cap. And this cap is at 1.5 million, and any awarded funds exceeding this cap will be redistributed among the remaining applicants who have not yet reached the cap or received their full requested amount. And so, are there any questions on the allocation methodology? Zach, do we have any questions?
There are no Q&A questions at this point.
Okay.
But Haley does have their hand up. So let's see. Hey, Haley, you should be able to unmute.
Okay, thank you, Zach. So yeah, I have a clarifying question. How does the other funding received within the last 3 years come into the evaluation of the need? Are you evaluating based on how much funding based on funding shortfall, or like, yeah, I just wanted to clarify that. Like how does it come into the calculation of need?
Yeah, Amy, I can address that if you'd like.
Okay.
Yeah, so historically, what's been looked at is it's been a certain threshold of, if under $1 million has, not been received by the tribe, the applicant, in the past, there's kind of an additional top up to that base award that's been applied. Practically, what that might look like is if there was a $300,000 base award, but a particular applicant had only received $500,000 in ICDBG dollars in the past 5-10 years. Maybe they got an additional like 100,000, 150,000, something like that.
Got it.
We have kept this in as a potential like factor for this round. We don't quite know what that is going to potentially look like this year. But traditionally and historically, that's what that prior funding awarded factor has been used for.
Okay, thank you,
And
Zach.
it's hard to we can't really give a number of what, again, in years past, it's been that $1 million threshold. Until we kind of see all the applications, it's hard to arbitrarily just put a number out there because we want to really evaluate the applications kind of in the context of each other, if that makes sense.
Yes, that does make sense.
Thank you for the question.
Yes. Thank you, Haley, and thank you, Zach. Okay. No other questions. I will go ahead now and pass this on to Jennifer, who will review the application template with you.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I'll be going over the application, budgets, standard agreement, boilerplates, and the reporting requirements of this webinar. So our application is found in Cognito Forms. The link to this application is posted on our website under the Apply Now icon. This link will take you to the application form in Cognito. California federally recognized tribes will have the opportunity to submit the Round 4 application through our online portal until January 16, 2026. The time cutoff is 5 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. A link to this application will be shared in our Zoom chat by a CAP team member. The online application form will have a save application option. Each applicant will have the option to start their application and save their progress through Cognito Forms. The save button will be located on the bottom of the page. So based on feedback received, the Tribal Hab team has created a Word version and a fillable PDF version of the Round 4 application. These two forms are intended to be used as templates and show each applicant the questions in the application before going on Cognito Forms. Please note that that these templates are not the actual application. The only application submittal we will accept will be through Cognito Forms. In previous rounds, applicants had difficulty navigating through the application tabs in Cognito. So the Cognito Forms will Cognito Forms still won't allow you to skip through the tabs without entering information in the text boxes. So these templates were created to support our applicants by having the application questions before starting in Cognito. We also have another resource available on our website. Applicants may use our round 4 budget guidance to assist in the budget planning, which is found in section 4 of the application. The budget guidance document is also located under the resources tab on our HCD website. This budget guidance document is intended to share examples of eligible program activities. This is not a full list. As stated in our NOFA, tribal communities hold the expertise to design and implement culturally responsive solutions that meet the needs of their communities. Okay, last item regarding our application. We are asking tribes to use their established State of California Fiscal or Bureau of Indian Affairs naming standards. In the previous round, while we were finalizing standard agreements, some applicants experienced a lot of back and forth within our department's accounting unit and other state fiscal departments because the names didn't match. So a missing or extra the or and or comma will cause a short delay. We are hoping that this step in the process will help reduce any back and forth and streamline this process. Okay, now post-award and budget revisions. After the application deadline, the CAP team will determine final award amounts to each applicant. Budget revisions will only be required if the NOFA allocation is oversubscribed. The Tribal HAP team will notify each applicant if this is applicable. Tribes will receive a conditional award letter through email. If a budget revision is required, the Tribal HAP team will ask the grantee to submit a revised budget with their actual award amount, their final award amount, and any other revision on their goals or timeline. A revised budget form is required before the team starts on the grantee's standard agreement. The Tribal HAP team will email the primary application contact a draft standard agreement once it is ready for their final review and signatures. We have a blank copy of our Round 4 standard agreement boilerplate on our HCD website. Under our Notice of Funding icon, a link to this document is available. Once the standard agreement is signed by both HCD and the tribe, it gets forwarded to our accounting units and then gets forwarded to the other state departments like the state controller's office. Each tribe will receive a paper check through mail. So for round 4 tribal HAP reporting requirements, they have been adjusted to reduce the administrative burden on tribes and tribal staff. So cumulative fiscal and program data will be reported on annually. Previous rounds had quarterly and annual reports. So round 4 grantees will only submit an annual report. Data will be collected through December 31st and will be due April 1st of each year. Tribal Affairs will email out reminders for the report 1 month prior to the due date. Applicants will receive technical assistance through CCRH, and in addition, will have the Tribal Affairs team at HCD available for assistance. A CAP team member will share our office hours Zoom link right now in our chat. Each funded tribe will be assigned a Tribal Affairs analyst to work with for the lifetime of the grant. Each tribe will have the opportunity for technical assistance to be provided by the California Coalition of Rural Housing, also known as CCRH, or their contracted partners. And CCRH holds monthly tribe-to-tribe network hours. To get connected to technical assistance providers, please send us an email and we will help coordinate that with you. And on the slide here, it shows our office hours dates and time. So November 6th, November 20th, December 4th, and December 18th will be our Tribal Affairs monthly office hours during the time of 2 to 3. Okay, that is the conclusion of our presentation of this webinar. So thank you so much for attending. Now we will open it up for any questions you may have.
Does anyone have any questions? We've provided several links in the chat, as you'll be able to notice. And so at any time, there's the NOFA, the Tribal HAP website, how to get there. Also the application template, the link to get there, along with our standard agreement boilerplate and office hours as well. So I'll go over, if I'm not sure if everyone's able to see some of the questions in the chat, but I've seen a couple come through and I'll just go ahead and say them out loud. Wanted to know, a question is how many have applied as of now? Well, the NOFA has been released for 1 month, exactly 1 month, and we do have an application in so far. And as I mentioned before, January 16th, 2026 is the deadline to apply for this grant. So 1 so far. Another question was, do we need to expend our other tribal HAPs grants in order to be approved for round 4? And that question is, no, you do not need to expend all other tribal HAP grants in order to be approved for round 4. So it's not dependent on you expending all your funds. There is each round has a fund expenditure deadline. So as long as you're meeting that, everybody is good to go. Another question was, in the template, the template that we're providing is, can you cut and paste from the Word document and paste it into the the application in Cognito? And the answer is yes. That's why the request was from Tribes was if we could have something to provide to have a fillable Word document or a fillable PDF document, be able to go through all that, fill out that template, and then be able to just cut and paste, copy and paste into the application portal. And so that was an improvement for this year. And that's okay. Other question came in. Are we able to use Tribal HAP Round 4 funds to bolster other Tribal HAP projects? And the answer is yes. Yes, you can. Yeah. And not only, let me add to that, not only to bolster other tribal HAP projects, but other projects as well, other HCD funding programs as well. You're welcome. Okay. And as I mentioned before, and Jennifer mentioned, if you have any questions that come up later, feel free to reach out to us through our email box. We'll put it again here in the chat. But we can schedule a meeting. We can go over any questions you have, link you up to our other TA providers, to get you started if you have any questions, things like that. Anything else I've missed? Did I miss anything out there? I've got so many screens going.
No, we've had nothing in the Q&A. Not seeing any other chats, no hands raised.
Okay. Okay. Okay, let us know in the chat if everything, if you're doing, you think everything is complete, you feel like you could move on to the next, start filling out the application, let us know. If you have any more questions out there. if there are no questions, we can go ahead and end this session. So we are here though. We're here until noon. Thank you, Haley. Okay. All right. Well, seeing or hearing from none, I think we will go ahead. Oh, there's something that did come up. Do we know the allocation for each? I'm not sure. I'm not sure what you mean. Do you mean wanting to know, oh, for each tribe? The allocation for round four is just stated just as we've described it today. So 75% will be divided amongst, as a base award, we'll divide it amongst all applicants that apply, right? Who are California's federally recognized tribes. And then the second one will be based on need, right? So the second allocation, which is the remaining portion, the 25% will be then put into the formula, will all be based on need. And then there's that cap of 1.5 million for each. No tribe will be awarded more than 1.5 million. But I'll give you some figures, so maybe you're kind of wanting to perhaps know give you a sense of the previous rounds. We had last round 37 tribes applied, and 20 million was available. However, 120 million was the total funds requested, so highly oversubscribed. And each round has been oversubscribed. And so the allocation methodologies, formulas were a little different every round, but also to know that we've seen nothing but an increase in the number of tribes applying for each round. So that will affect how the formula works out, or the award amounts for each tribe. Okay. Yes, question was, do we need to submit a budget? Yes, you do. So based on the amount of, based on your need for your homelessness and needs, you will need to submit a budget. If you would like to go over your budget and have technical assistance, we can set up a meeting and go over that with you. So if you'll reach out to us, let us know. And someone else had asked if we should reach out to our technical assistance provider for Paula Housing Resource. Yes, if they have been your technical assistance provider throughout your other rounds, yes, that's who you'll remain with them. You'll remain with that TA. But also know that we here are also available for any questions you have as well. So we'll work in tandem with our TA providers. Did someone have a question? I heard somebody earlier.
No, I was going to flag Lisa's question, but you got it.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Well, I will again put our email address in the chat. And for those listening, our email address is tribalhap, that's TRIBAL hhap@hcd.ca.gov. And I'm seeing no more questions. We can go ahead and end it. We'll go ahead. You all can feel free to log out or to leave if you've got everything you need to move forward. We'll stay here online for anybody who wants to kind of hang out or maybe ask some more questions. But thank you all. Thank you for your time this morning, and good luck.